Hey, I'm Patrick with Rowdy Restorations. Today, we're at the Bos Farm Show in Erie, Illinois. Stay tuned and check out all the footage I got of these old tractors plowing. The Waterloo boy was out here making a few rounds. We got started plowing earlier. This is the first day of the show. Did a little bit before lunch. I'm sure they'll be back out here after lunch. I'm actually going to get to do a ride along with you guys on this tractor, so that'll be good. Figured since we were 2 miles off of the beaten path to get over here to the Horicon Works, we'd stop and check it out. We stopped and pulled into the Gator facility, and I've never really been over here or done a whole lot of research on it, really. And this is where the lawn and garden tractors were built, was here, and then they've got a new facility just down the road where they build all the Gators. We're walking out front here to the river access area. We had to park off to the side because we've got the camper with us. So there it is. There's the walk bridge over. Their little display they have out here in the front. Pretty sure a few of the guys, when they came up to Classic Green, they brought their tractors over and took pictures in front of this, where their lawn and gardens were made. But this is where all of our lawn and garden tractors came from. I imagine they were probably built more in that building than they were some of these other newer buildings that are here. I think they're doing some kind of retooling thing right now or something. There's a lot of signs around that they're closed for maintenance this week and shut down, but now we can say we've seen it. Haven't been inside, but we've seen it. Hopefully, if we ever get back up here, it'll be opened up for tours. It wasn't open for tours during the Classic Green show. But we're off to the Bos Farm Show now, so y'all stay tuned to the channel. Well, we made it to the Bos Farm Show. We got camp set up. It's Thursday night. The show starts tomorrow. Richard Haynes bringing his BR in. Guys still unloading stuff, so looking forward to a good show. I like the muscle tractors lined up down there. Little evening preview of the muscle tractor lineup with a beautiful sunset in the background. Man, look at this. I saw from the road, a nice looking 5020 in an auction lineup about an hour and a half north of here. Here's the G1000 that they just featured in Antique Power magazine recently. Would you look at that sunset in the background? And all these beautiful muscle tractors lined up? It's Thursday night before the start of the show. And it's looking like it's going to be a good show, because that is an impressive lineup of equipment right there. Check out the 5020 Standard. I was going to say I'm excited to see it out in the field working, but they forgot to hook a plow to it. That's not a good sign. It may not be running out there much. Hopefully they'll hook one to it. Oliver 2255 though. It's a sweet tractor. They've got a plow hooked to that one, so I know it'll be out there running. So it's the first day out here at the Bos Show. Kind of scoped some stuff out this morning. They've definitely got some rare, unique implements out here. Check out this old guy pulling behind the steam plows, or the steam tractors, I'm sorry. Nice disc plow. Man, look at this road grader. Adams Road Maintainer. Before the day of hydraulics. Had to crank everything. Hey, there's a load coming in, and there's the teeter-totter. Check this thing out. Man, look at the lift system on this. Guess that's the drive wheel with the big bumps on it. That's cool. Sure saved having to have a bunch of guys on the back to pull them up. Here's a disc tiller. That's a pretty big one. A dirt scoop. This is pretty cool. 40 crawler pulling a 2-bottom plow. This is a working show too, so the equipment, a lot of the equipment around here will be out and working and plowing the field as the show goes on. They've got big old wagon full of grain crop there, wheat or oats, probably wheat. And they'll be doing a demonstration over here with the threshing machines. And there's your straw press. It's a Avery thresher. That one says the Hummingbird. Looks like Kevin's making some tweaks on it, getting stuff ready to go. There's a 620 LP. Here's an advanced Rumley thresher. And there is the Unstyled section. They advertised it as wanting to feature Unstyled John Deere's, with it being 2025, and you know the Spoker D, the last year for the Spoker D was 25, and they are 100 years old this year. So there's definitely some old iron there, and it looks like they'll probably have this out plowing. We'll definitely get some footage of that. There's Richard inspecting what has been brought out. I say back when men were men. Steel seat, no power steering, hand crank, mechanical levers to put your plow down. Pretty cool stuff though. There's a Waterloo boy. Saw one of these with the engine tore apart the other day at Kent's place on the way out here. Here's the Spoker D. You see, they were called a Spoker D due to the spoked flywheel. There's Jack Beck talking about some stuff on his GP. Definitely the GP expert. I'd say there's a little bit of an art to this. They're getting the threshing machine set up. Gotta line the tractors up just right. Pretty cool, the belt stores on there, so you can roll it back up when you go from one job to another. Would have been a common sound around farms back in the day. You hear the old engines running, cleaning seed, thrashing. A lot of times too, they could use a stationary engine to run those thrashers instead of the tractors. So this is the teeter-totter that they had out at Classic Green. Brian Holtz had a hand in building this, and Brian unfortunately has since passed. But they are using that to raise money to start the scholarship memorial in his name. It's been a goal of Classic Green to be able to provide scholarships and stuff for young people in this hobby that are doing something, staying focused to it, and hopefully that'll be the thing that gets it kicked off. Kevin over there working on dialing some stuff in. They're trying to get all the belts put on this thing. I think it's a combination of remembering which way they're supposed to go because you haven't used it in a few years, and also I think there's a bit of an art to it anyways. Had a little bit of rain here last night, so I'd say it's going to have to dry out to be able to do much combining or what have you today. The Bos Brothers set this show up in a way to where they do it every year, but this year it's in July and next year it'll be in September. And they do that so they can focus on the different crops. Obviously July is when your small grains and stuff are coming in, and then in September I'm pretty sure they're going to be focusing on corn crops here, so it's pretty cool the way they've set that up. There's a nice looking AR. Pulling a, I guess this is where I am no expert by no means at all, and not that I'm really an expert in anything, but that is not a combine by no means. So I guess it would be a binder maybe, but it doesn't even really bind it. So what that does is that's going to go down through the field, through your wheat, and that's going to cut it and put it out here into a windrow. I'm pretty sure Kevin had this guy here at Classic Green, and what this one is this is a combine, except it puts it into the bags. So you'll bag it right on the side of the machine. Somebody would stand out here, bag it up, and then I'm assuming they would just toss it off or throw it onto a wagon that's running next to it.
I know he bought a 77.
And that's a John Deere Lance.
But my stepson, he worked on them.
And then there's your more modern, machine. Very similar to what you would see nowadays. So it's going to go through the field, cut, thrash, all in one operation, hence the name combine. And then it'll fill that up, that hopper up top with your grain. This will be sticking out. Pull alongside with the tractor, pull in a cart, fill it up, take it back to the bin for storage, or load it into a truck and haul it to the elevator. So this one here, this is binder. That's what this is, what they would consider a binder. So it comes through, goes through the field, cuts it right there, elevates it up over here, sticks it into a bundle, and puts a twine around it right there. And then you could go through the field and pick up the bundles instead of it just being laying in a windrow. And then that's what this one is too. That's doing the same thing. And I'll tell you, we've come a long ways in agriculture technology. Here's an interesting attachment for your plow that I'm excited to see in use, because I have never seen that before. Looks like it take and knock the furrow down a little bit as it goes over. So that's going to be cool to see. Hooked up to a Style D. The 420 crawler with the 68 auger cart or auger wagon on crawler tracks is a super cool piece. I think I first saw this at Classic Green in Tennessee. They brought it out there to that show. And then they had it at Rantoul one year. And they were pulling it along, loading corn in the wagon from a tracked combine that I have not seen around here. I don't remember if it's Kevin's or not, but he might not have it out because it would be a corn head on that machine. So this is a super cool piece. Owned by Dan out of Galva, Illinois. 5-roller crawler too. I've always liked those. The 420s and 430s with the 5 rollers I think are pretty darn cool. I'm finally wandering back over here to my ride. Kind of got distracted and realized I left this thing sitting out in the field. This is Oliver's favorite display that we've brought to a show so far. Well, I reckon you've heard me say it before, but man, look at this dirt. I guess I've spent too much time trying to garden in Cashers, North Carolina, where it's all sandy rock. Check out the Spoker D coming in. Do some adjustments. So he's adjusting the depth of the plows there to get it to where they're cutting right in this soil. There's definitely an art to getting your plow set up. In fact, there's whole books and videos and series and everything about how to do that. Comes another Spoker D. So that plow has a really unique mechanism for going into the ground. The whole axle flips over on it. We'll try to get a little bit of footage of that when he gets down to the end row to pick it up. Here comes Richard Hain on his BR. He's the editor of the Green Magazine, in case you guys might not be aware. Pulling a single bottom plow. It'd take a few minutes to get your ground turned with that, but it would get the job done. And then this is Jack Beck. He's a GP aficionado out of Nebraska. So you'll notice he's got 2 plows hanging on that tractor, but that is a 2-way plow setup. So you could go down to the field, end of the field, and then lift up, turn right around, drop into that same exact furrow, and then put the other plow down, instead of doing like what they're doing here, to where you started right here down the center, rolled it onto itself, and then you go down to the end and turn around, and as you get further out in the field, it takes you that much longer to get turned around. So watch him when he gets down to the end. He'll pull that rope, and then that rope engages the mechanism on the wheels, and then the one wheel that's not in the furrow provides power to lift the plow up, and then his rope broke off. So here's what I'm talking about with Jack's rig on the GP. Notice all these other guys have gone down, turned around, and are going back on the other side. Jack went out here, turned around, and dropped into the same furrow he had just left. And I will say one thing too, these guys out here are making this look really, really easy right now. But all these guys have many, many moons of experience under their belt plowing, because to lay out and set a row off that straight, look at that. You got to know what you're doing to do that. These things don't drive themselves anymore, or like they do now, I should say. I don't know if you can hear me on the mic, but I'm having trouble finding the hydraulic levers. There we go. Hydraulics don't work on this like the ones I normally run. All right, I'm gonna try to do a ride along with you guys. I don't mind the shaky camera work and stuff at times because there are no hydraulics on this thing. You have to kind of be able to walk and chew bubble gum to get started, and then after that, it's easy going. At these plowing demonstrations that end up with really crooked lines are guys like me that are out here trying to film and get their phones out while they're going down the road. Y'all can read the back of this shirt. It says National Plowing Champion 22 and 24. I think I'll let him follow me to clean up the mess I make. Check it out, they got the Waterloo boy hooked to a plow. while that looks slow, still so much better than a horse. Not as peaceful as working with a horse. Here we are out here plowing with tractors from the late teens to early 20s, showing off this type of technology. There's none on the pad right now, but this operation here is doing crop dusting with helicopters. They had 3 helicopters take off out of there this morning. Well, I guess I didn't do too bad. Now, I kept calling this thing a BR earlier, but it's actually a BO. See how it's got the shielding here over top of your caps? And then these extensions right here would have been orchard equipment, and then obviously the down exhaust. And I see this looks like it's, well, I was gonna say it looks like it's a reproduction, but it's a later model Deere than what would have gone to this tractor, but out of the implement company in Oregon. And now that I'm thinking about that, I'm pretty sure I read something in the Green Magazine about Richard going out to Oregon to pick this tractor up. So that tracks. And it's a 47 BO. So that, with it being a 47, they were actually building these tractors as unstyled tractors still when the styled production of Bs were going on. In 1947, the styled Bs would have had a pressed steel frame, which was the last variation of the B tractor that they built. And it's pretty interesting how they kept doing the BRs and BOs as unstyled tractors. And same thing with the ARs and the AOs. There's a nice styled AR up there. They did finally start styling the ARs. And I forget what year that was. It must have been 48 or 49, somewhere in there. They finally styled the ARs, and then they built a styled AO. It's kind of like the Ds. The styled Ds were... Here's one down here. So here's a Spoker D. That looks like a 24-inch flywheel Spoker D. We're going to pretend it's a 1925. I don't really know what year it is. It could be a 24. So I have restored a Spoker D before that was a 1925 model. But this right here would be a what they called a styled D. And while they were styled tractors, they did not have the same level of sheet metal work and styling that the other lettered series tractors got. And then of course, the GPs, there never was a styled GP. And you'll notice the GP is a flathead configuration. It's the only horizontal flathead that they built, as far as I know. Jack Beck's tractor here. I'll probably talk about this if I haven't already, but this two-way plow setup, it's a pretty rare deal. And I was talking with Jack earlier, and he's got some of the accessories that he's found over the years that farmers have added to this other GP tractors, and he's put them on here. We don't know what these are for, but somebody put a whole lot of work into making those, because they bolt through from the underside, and then they've, put them, blacksmith has done this, and then they bend them over and hammered them down, but they were obviously for something. And then also, he said this part here, he's got a Velcro around it, but this looks like a little burner of some sorts. We're not even sure what it is, but when you pop it out, there's a fitting underneath this cap, and that came off of a GP that he got out of Wyoming, and he also does not know what that's for. And then there's some other bracket on the other fender over there. So pretty cool piece of equipment right there. And it's neat on some of these old original condition plow tractors, when the guys leave some of the stuff on there that the guys have outfitted over the years to make it easier to work with that tractor. And then this here is the Waterloo boys, so this should be like 1918-ish, somewhere in there. Up to 1923, I believe. They actually, I was talking with Mr. Kent about this the other day when we stayed at his place for one night. I think they built 90, if I'm not mistaken. 90 Waterloo boys, he said, after they started the production of the Spoker Ds. He's working on one that has 5 serial numbers away from the start of the Spoker D production right now. Maybe when we stop on the way home, maybe I can have a little bit of time, we can talk about with him and show you guys some stuff from there. Very crude technology in a sense, but very advanced for the day. Check out the Minneapolis tractor they've got belted up to the shingle mill over here. Cutting cedar shake shingles. Getting the steam engine in position for running the sawmill. They had a Caterpillar 60 hooked to it earlier. Looks like they're ready to fire it off. Like an early CNC. It moves itself out, and now he takes the shingle and planes the edges. Massey's technology there at work. Notice how this machine that went through had a spreader on it to toss the straw into a pile, and this one's set up to put it into a pile so they can come back and bale it. That's how they used to do it back in the day. Right there now. Spits out all the little bundles. And then they come back and pick those up, load them on the wagon, and haul them over to the threshing machine. Maybe I'll throw the threshing machine portion of the show in after this, and then you guys can see it from start to finish. It's kind of happening backwards right now as I'm filming it. Must need an adjustment. So typically somebody would have been riding back there, adjusting everything, moving stuff around as needed, would have handled that. He must have had the issue with it not tying. And he's off again, look at it. I think that's all that matters. So this becomes a little tricky. Yeah, this becomes a little tricky when you hit a spot like this and the previous machine didn't do its job. So that did not get tied off properly, and that's why Kevin stopped out there in the field. Also goes a lot faster if you have more than one person loading, but we've upped our manpower, so now we got to up our speed. Over to the thresher? Okay. They couldn't keep the Prairie Tractors running, so they had to hook up a reliable tractor to the threshing machine. Looks like it got plugged up. Now that's actually a reliable tractor right there. Looks like something messed up on the baler. Got the baler tuned back up and missed a knot or something that was breaking the spring. They've got it fixed now. On the left here, you got the machine that does the first process. That's cutting the wheat and swathing it. And then over here, you got the machine that's doing the next process, and that is picking up the windrow of wheat and combining it. And that machine is actually combining it. So then they'll be able to pull up to a little auger cart and offload the hopper. Coming out the back of the combine right there, that's your wheat straw. So now you could run a baler through the field out here and bale that straw. And there is a machine doing it all at once. One thing I find amazing is, you know how hard it is to teach people to tie knots, and this thing is tying them for you? Yeah. See if we can get it to, there you go. I was gonna say, we'll see if we can catch it tying a knot for you guys. I don't know the whole family, but there's Kevin stacking straw on the trailer. These guys put a lot of work into the show. His brother Chuck has a lot of the Prairie Tractors that are on display out there. It's the Bos Brothers Farm Show. one thing that's for sure, when you decide to put a show on, it's a lot of work that goes into it. Nowadays, these machines are cutting 40 and 45-foot swaths, unloading on the go with humongous grain carts the size of a house. The grain carts they run these days, I can't even begin to fit inside my shop. They could unload in the field as they were going if they needed to, but obviously this is a smaller production deal out here. Got the wagon loaded down with straw. Looks like they're bringing in a big old disc to get that ground tuned back up. And looky there. There's a helicopter just showed back up from spraying. You're never late with the 3208. Just remember that. The muscle tractors are heading out to go plow just down the road. Well, that'll be it for episode 1 at the Bos Farm Show. I hope you guys enjoyed. As always, like and subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything. Stay tuned. Episode 2 coming your way.